The Stanley Parable is probably a game you've either heard exceptional things about, or it's a game you've in fact never heard about. For me, it was the latter, which caused me to go into it with only a very low amount of expectation. I don't usually review indie-type games nor adventure-type games. They're not my thing. But the Stanley Parable was a rather delightful surprise. To further complicate my opinion on the game was just the nature of the game. It's an insanely complicated game to explain, especially without giving anything away. In fact, the entire game is literally just a series of spoilers, and allow me to explain, at least to the best of my abilities. The Stanley Parable, in and of itself, is an ironic parody of the conventional structure most first-person shooter-based video games adhere to. It pokes fun at the idea that someone like you or I sits down in front of a computer or TV and presses buttons on a keyboard because the game tells us to without question. It openly makes fun of the fact that gamers think they have any level of free will within video games. How it does this exactly, I can't tell you for fear of spoiling the brilliance. All you need to know is that you play an office worker named Stanley who finds himself in an empty office complex following the orders of an omniscient narrator.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
The narrator really serves to tell you the game's objectives by commanding you to perform certain actions. Now this is where the Stanley Parable gets interesting. Whereas most games tell you to do something and won't progress until you actually do what it wants, the Stanley Parable openly gives you different choices. Now if you opt for a choice that isn't what the quote-unquote story calls for, you are punished. And the word punished is in quotation marks.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Your punishment is actually rewarded with the baffled responses from a confused narrator. Each path you take offers a different version of what is ultimately the same story.
Now let's see, we went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
The only way to really understand what I'm throwing at you is just to play the game. If it interests you in the least, you already owe it to yourself to play the Stanley Parable.
No, this isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
The game is a psychological thrill ride. The level design constantly changes in ways that are impossible in real life. The constant changing of the environment helps reinforce the recurring idea that video games as a whole don't actually make a whole lot of sense. Each and every time you get closer to the quote-unquote freedom video games offer you, the Stanley Parable slaps you in the face with some kind of narrative element that either hurts your brain or causes you to question your sanity. It's an utterly brilliant way to let the gamer actually derive the idea that they are a pawn in someone else's story. It just works so damn well. The Stanley Parable is also littered with humor and other psychological moments that turn your brain inside out and upside down. It's a game that a select few people will really enjoy. It's really short, but the need to annoy the narrator by going where he and the game don't want you to go is more than enough to force you into finding all the different endings.
Still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Once you do get through all the endings, though, there really isn't any reason to keep playing the Stanley Parable. It sucks that it's such a short game, but trust me when I say that it can only work as short-form media. The game is another brilliant example of what interactive media was meant for. In terms of storytelling capabilities, or lack thereof to some degree, I'd put it alongside something like BioShock Infinite, and I know that's saying a lot. It's also ironic since the Stanley Parable sets out to debunk exactly that type of game, a linear first-person game. Either way, the Stanley Parable is a fun diversion from what you normally experience for yourself as a gamer. It helps to make sense of what we do and why we do it. And you might not like the answer, but the journey the Stanley Parable offers is well worth
I
the
won't
price.
restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually.